Hey everybody, welcome to episode 12 of the Revenue Diaries. Today we have Morgan Ingram. Many of you know Morgan Ingram because he makes a ton of content online and it is great content. But again, we're not talking about work with Morgan for the most part. We're talking about his relationship through COVID, how they set up dates. We're talking about breaking the mold, intuition, getting over imposter syndrome, uh, what does Morgan look like at 50? Like, what's his life look like at 50 years old? And then, probably my favorite part of the whole thing is that he talks about his ideas around impact over income. So, I hope you enjoy. Again, today's episode is brought to you by, you guessed it, Lessonly, training and enablement software for sales and customer service teams. You can practice, you can onboard, and you save time, you save money, and people are selling stuff faster. So, that's all I got for you. Enjoy the show. Cheers. Cheers, everyone. Welcome to the Revenue Diaries, a deeply personal interview series where we ask the top revenue leaders in the world 5 questions about their work, fears, family, and life. There's just one catch. We do not share any of the questions in advance, right, Morgan?
Yeah, no idea what's going to happen.
All right, let's get to it. I'm pleased to welcome a friend, brilliant sales mind, and the best cold caller that I know, Morgan Ingram, to the show. Welcome, Morgan. Why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm the director of sales execution and evolution at JB Sales, and what I do is I train sales teams on how to prospect and break through the noise. So emailing, cold calling, as Kyle had mentioned there, video prospecting, social selling, you name it. That's what I'm doing now, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we had Morgan come in and do a cold calling, I would say offsite, right, for my SDR
Yeah,
BDR
yeah.
team, and it was amazing. So I highly recommend it. But that is not what we're here for. Okay, so you did not receive the questions ahead of time. How are you
Nope.
feeling? How are you feeling about all of this?
I like, you told me they're not work related and not sales related, so I was like pumped. I was like, all right, like what's he got? Like I'm excited to see what you found.
Oh, it's not anything earth shattering, I don't think. But all right, we're gonna start because you don't know it. We're just gonna start with an easy question. Okay. You are currently in a long distance relationship,
Yep.
right? I'm assuming
Yes.
that is tough, especially
Yep.
in a damn pandemic, as well
Yeah.
as economic downturn and everything we deal with.
Yep.
How have you handled the separation? I'm sure you've learned a lot. Any tips that you have for people that are also dealing with this?
Yeah. So it's been 6 months now. I'm seeing her on Sunday though. So
Congrats.
yeah, I'm basically like, yeah, I want this week to be over. Like, I'm hopping on the calls. I'm doing everything I can. I'm just like, yo, where is the weekend? Like, I've
Yeah.
never been more hyped for a weekend. But man, I'll be honest with you. Like, it's really, really tough because I live by myself. And so it's just me for the past 6 months. So you're playing like this mental game with yourself. And this would be a lot easier if you had a significant other with you, but I don't. And so it's been tough because I'll be on Zooms all day long doing trainings and calls. And then the next thing I do is, hey, I got to talk to my girlfriend, right? And that's on a screen. So it's like, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm always on a screen. And even though I want to talk to her, I feel like, oh, like here's another screen call. And I have to change my mindset to be like, no, this is my girlfriend. I gotta talk to her, right? That's the hardest thing. Another thing as well is dates. Like, I don't think I've ever come up with these creative dates that I've come up with. I'm like, I was
Okay.
like,
What
yeah,
are some of them? We want to
I'm
know.
gonna tell you, this is just ridiculous. Like, I'm like, how do I come up with this? So, one of them was we created a budget for a place that you had to travel to. So we would pick like France, and you had to pick a hotel, you had to pick restaurants, and you also had to pick attractions. You don't pick the flights. And so literally, it was like you have $30,000 for this week-long trip, and you gotta basically be within budget. And then basically we would present our options to each other, and you have to pitch it, and then you have to figure out like which option was the best. Like,
That's
and so
great.
no, it was really fun. Like I was like, all right, let's try this. Another one we did was I think it's called Sporkle, and it basically is like games and stuff. So what we did is we went on Zoom and then we just played this, or no, we went to Sporkle and then we were just on the phone and then we would play games against each other. We did that. Another one that we did is you can do virtual tours of places. So
Oh
we
yeah.
did like virtual tours of museums, virtual tours of different places, like not amusement parks, but like national parks. Yeah, I mean those are just a small amount of things that we did. So like it was, I mean, we did Netflix, watched movies together, like stuff like that. But yeah, man, I was just coming up with stuff, and I was just like, all right, like we're gonna do this. I have no idea what's gonna happen. So, but the biggest benefit is that you truly find that this is a person you could be compatible with if you could not see them for 6 months. I think that really tests you because it's
Hmm.
like you can easily get distracted and be like, oh, I want to go do something else. Like I want to go talk to somebody else because like they're not physically present there with you. So this to me has solidified that, oh, this is definitely a great girl that I'm dating because we over communicate. We do everything that we can to support each other. And that's been the coolest thing about it is that, yeah, there's been like disconnects, fights, whatever, but
Sure.
we've been able to get through that.
That's great, man. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to switch gears a little bit. As far as I can tell, you're one of Travis Scott's biggest fans
Yes,
outside
yes.
some of my friends. And first off, can you tell people for those of us that have been living under a rock, who is Travis Scott?
Yeah.
Let's do that first. And then, you mentioned in one of the interviews I listened to that Travis Scott breaks the mold on tracks, and you try to do that in your business life, your personal life.
Mhm.
Do you try to break the mold? Well, let's start with who Travis Scott is first. I think that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
So here's the thing. When it was, I was heading to New York with my friends who were going to a music festival. I had never listened to Travis Scott before. So I'm like, you all probably listening now, like, who the heck is Travis Scott? I was the same way. He played an album. He played the whole album while we were in this apartment in New York, and I was like, "This guy's incredible." And then I just immediately gravitated towards him. And so Travis Scott, he's a hip hop artist. He's out of Houston. He's got a couple albums out there. So Astro World, Birds in the Trap, Before Rodeo. Those are his albums, and
Hmm.
he isn't a very lyrical rapper. He's not like super lyrical. He's not going to give you like straight bars like Eminem. However, what he does is that he takes the beats, he takes the melodies, he takes the visuals, and makes it very appealing in a completely different sound. And he really mastered auto-tune. So that's who Travis Scott is. He's a rapper, but he's not just like straight lyrics. He's got other
No,
components.
he's very, very different, which is why I enjoy him as well. And you made the comment he breaks the mold on tracks, right? Like
Yep.
normal, the way music has created, the way hip hop music has been created in the past, he kind of broke that mold. You try to do that as well in your professional life. At least that's
Yep.
what you were talking about on the interview. Do you also try to do that in your personal life,
Yeah.
breaking molds?
Absolutely. I do it. I do it all across the board. I get things of I get bored of things very quickly. So like I have to be always doing something different. Like even in a webinar, like we start webinars with music. I have a slide in my webinar that says you will get the replay in all caps because people keep asking me for the replay and I'm like, you're gonna get it. So don't put that in the comments because we're here for value, not to ask about the replay because you're gonna get it, right?
Right.
It's like those are things that I do. They're just different because people just go through the same motions on things all the time and people want different aspects and they want a different viewpoint, and that's what I want to bring. So I definitely do it from a professional standpoint, and also I do it personally as well, and that's the way I go about it. Like my friends think, they're like, yo, Morgan, what are you talking about half the time? But the thing is, like, that's just who I am. Like I've embraced myself to just go with the vibe of what I feel like is good in that moment that makes sense, and I act on the intuition.
So have you? This kind of goes into the third question. So this is a two-part. Have you been like that your entire life? And then the second part of this question is you tweeted recently. Well, I think it was recently. There's nothing better than when your dad texts you that he is proud of your success and blessed to be your father.
Yeah.
He sounds like an awesome dad. Has he influenced you to be this way? Did you grow up that way? Where does your drive come from? Like, how has he influenced your life?
Yes. So my dad, my dad, every time I asked him a question, he'd be like, that's interesting. You should probably go look that up on Google. So like he would never give me the answers. And like that was so frustrating. However, that's what's led me to be so curious and always try new things, because what I'll do is I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'll go look it up. I'll do the research. I'll figure it out and I'll execute it and I'll figure out how it works for me. And then that's what normally a lot of my content comes from. So he put that in me to be like, don't just ask for the question just to sometimes get the answer. Like do some research on your own too to figure that out, right? And you can find a lot of stuff there. And also it's just the way that he raised me. He raised me to always be respectful of everyone. He raised me to always work hard on what you're doing. And he also raised me in a way that he was like, continuously embrace yourself and not try to be like other people, which I struggled with for a while. However, so to answer your question before, I've always been curious. However, I've never taken that action on my curiosity. Now I've done that more than usual because I fundamentally don't care that much about opinions. Like I'm pretty much in my lane. This is what I'm going to do. I ask for feedback from people I care about, but for the most part, I'm going to do my thing. But I definitely cared about other people's opinions before, and that was part of who I am. I had to get over that.
Why did you struggle with that?
I
I mean, I
struggled.
think we all do, but
Yeah,
why?
for me personally, growing up, I never had a lot of validation, and that doesn't mean that my parents were like not paying attention to me. What I mean by validation is I never got validated for things that I was doing. So there was always someone better, right? There was always someone better in the class that was smarter. There was always someone better on the basketball team. So I never got validated for things that I was doing. And so I always felt like that yearning to be like, I just want to be accepted in something and be good at something. Cause I never had gotten that like greatness level in anything. I just was kind of like, I'm here, right? Middle in the pack, whatever. And I knew there was something more. I just didn't know what it was. So the first time that I got the traction that I got from the SCR Chronicles, that was a lot. And what people don't know that I was 23 when that was happening. So imagining coming out of college and everyone in the world is asking you these questions and starts calling you an expert or guru, and you're like, yeah, I'm just making videos, right? So that's a lot going on, and people are like, yeah, come speak to my team, and it's like, yeah, I just graduated, like I don't know what you want me to tell them. So like that, and then you start getting that imposter syndrome, and you're like, what am I doing? And like that happens, and so. But I've always wanted to just be accepted by people, and so when people were coming at me, I was like, whoa, like I'm just trying to do my thing, and I just wanted to be accepted on something because I never was, right? And I always had like that underdog mentality, and that ultimately kept driving me because I always felt like I never was seen in a light where people were like, oh yes, like this person knows what they're talking about. I always felt like I was underestimated like the entire time throughout high school, college, etc. So that always like continuously got my drive up every single time.
Well, and I don't think it ever goes away. I mean, at least for me, I've learned how to take that feeling of people underestimating you or the imposter syndrome and use it for the better, right? For drive and to succeed and to try to prove myself wrong. And it's stressful and it's emotionally, it breaks you sometimes, but I think that's what drives a lot of people. So you mentioned you were 23. How old are you now?
27.
27. Okay. So you got a lot of life ahead of you, man.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
You've done a lot.
The baby is what they call me.
So this is the next question. You don't have to close your eyes, but people are going to be watching this video as well as listening to this. So you can if you want, but I want you to think of Morgan Ingram at 50 years old. 50. I want you to tell me, what do you see? What is the most important thing in front of you at the 50-year-old Morgan Ingram?
Man, 50. Well, honestly, at that point, we're going to be in the future. So I'm probably going to have like an Iron Man suit at that point. So y'all might not even see me anymore. I might just be flying around. So like that would be awesome to be, right? Just flying around.
Well, I won't see the 50-year-old Morgan Ingram, but you will still be the 50-year-old
Hey, don't say that. You know, technology can change on us real quick. In the next
That's
10
true.
years, they could give you a seed. You just eat it, and then you're gonna live 100 years more.
That's fair.
Like, don't doubt that at all, right? Don't do that. Here's my thing. This is what I ultimately care about, and even through this quarantine, like I've been writing about certain stuff, like what's 5 years, 10 years. I haven't gotten to 50, but ultimately, what I would like to see is that I led a path and I decide on a path of impact over income. That is the most important thing to me, that I've truly impacted people's lives and it wasn't just me making money. Because at the end of the day, like most people's mindsets, especially in their 20s, is like, how much money can I make in the 30s, right? I get that. But I think it's more about impact, because that in return will get you ultimately what you want. So I want to look back and be 50 and be like, hey, I've impacted a lot of people, not just in sales, but in multiple industries, right? It's not, for me, it's not just, hey, I'm in sales right now and this is it. Like there are other places that I want to go at the end of the day. And
Well,
so I want to look back on that.
yeah, that's great, man. You graduated from University of Georgia with a degree in sports management, right? In
Sports
finance.
management and finance. Yep. Double major.
So then this applies to what I just asked you. Your first dream was to become a sports agent. So and it didn't work out initially, right? But
Nope.
is that something you're going to want to do in the future? Is go back to that, your first passion?
Yes and no. Now let me explain what I mean by that. Yes, as an agent. No, as in terms of the sports that we think about. I want to go into esports.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So gaming industry is really hot right now. You guys should go look at the numbers. It's making way more than the
Yep.
entertainment and film industry. So that's something that I've want to go into. I've been very open about it as of late. Like that's one of the things that I want to dive back into, because I used to dabble in it a little bit. So I want to see what's going on now.
Any specific? Oh, I have no idea about the esports industry, but any specific game? Is it a
Yeah,
game
yeah.
or a league?
Yeah, and it definitely will change, because there could be a new game that comes out, just like anything, right? But I would probably be focusing on, I know Halo's about to come back with a new iteration, so I'd probably do something in there. Super Smash Bros, like that will be around forever. League of Legends, I used to
Love it.
play that. It's a computer game. Those are probably the ones I'd be focused on. But I mean, there's so many that are out there, and there's different games like Counter-Strike and etc. But
Love
those
it.
are the ones that gave you are the ones I'd probably focus on.
That's awesome. All right, bonus question for all the practitioners listening. You know, we couldn't get away without at least talking about one thing about work. What's your best advice to revenue leaders who are in this crazy world of just scaling software companies?
I think the most important thing right now is trying out new things. And let me get tactical and not just give you a high level answer. I think a lot of people right now are like, hey, this is what I used to do in the past. So let's just keep doing it and let's see what happens. I think the new thing to do, which everyone should be doing anyways, is hey, go have a roundtable with your customers. A lot of people just don't do this, right? Have a roundtable with your customers and get 8 to 10 people and ask them questions. And then based on that, be willing to try out new things. You know, I'm been pushing really hard video, right? Using video in your sales cycles is going to fundamentally help you right now. But it's really the two-prong approach here. One is, hey, let me go talk to these customers and see what's going on. Like that's a very tactical thing, and every rep should be doing that. And then what you do from there is like, let's try new things. Let's do video. Let's try out a new email campaign and execute from there, because you're gonna have to try out something new in order to break through the noise. Otherwise, you'll be the noise, right? So those are things that I would just encourage people to do. Those two things, they're very easy to do. However, the execution behind it is the key.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Morgan. Thank you. Could you tell the fine folks listening or watching like where they can find you, other
Yeah,
than everywhere?
you can find me on LinkedIn, but at the same time, you can't connect with me because LinkedIn's capped me at 30K connections. So I don't know what the heck they're doing over there. So y'all can yell at them, don't yell at me. And then the best place is on Twitter or Instagram. So at Morgan J. Ingram.
Awesome. Great. Again, thanks for stopping in. This wraps up another episode of Revenue Diaries. I'm not Joe Rogan or Morgan Ingram. So if you like this episode, go rate, subscribe, download, share, review. You know the drill. You hear it all the time. Thanks for listening and watching. Cheers.